doing okay. Awesome. Thanks for taking your time out. I'm just kind of waking up, doing my normal runs, and so I'm ready to go whenever you are.
I'm ready to rock, my friend.
Okay, awesome. I recall growing up listening to a lot of your music, and obviously I have my favorites just like you do. Some that were challenging, some that were not so challenging. But I wanted to thank you for your time to interview with me on a busy concert tour that you're promoting for The Way Life Goes. Obviously a favorite album of mine as I have listened to it. Just so the listeners know, when is your next concert date?
Our next one is in Charleston, West Virginia on April 12th.
Okay, awesome. They can find that at tomkeifer.com?
Actually, the official Facebook, Tom Keifer Official, is where the most updated. That and the Twitter, Tom Keifer Music.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome. So then, obviously you had your run with Cinderella, but then what was your desire, and when did your peak come into effect?
When did what come into effect?
Wanting you to become solo.
Oh, well, that idea came up really the first time in the 90s when, the whole music scene was changing, and we parted ways with our label, and we're drifting apart. So I started thinking about doing a solo record then, but it kept getting put on the back burner and on the back burner. Never got around to it until 2003, which was actually a period of time where Cinderella was going through some legal hassles over a record deal that had gone south, and we were legally restricted from recording with each other for a period of time. So everyone started doing solo projects then, and that's when I started mine. And it just, I started producing this with my wife and a friend of mine here in town, Chuck Turner, and it was really, didn't even feel like a record in the beginning. It was more about just recording some songs and making some music, and one thing led to another, and we just kept working on it and chipping away for years and years and years, almost 9 years in the making. And one day woke up, it just felt like a record, and we decided then to take it around to labels and shop and find someone to market it, produce, or distribute it and promote it and get it out there. So
right, absolutely. And since I've had a chance to listen to it, I actually have a couple of favorites, and we'll go over that later on. But I wanted to ask you, after the loss of your voice, did you think that after all your medical procedures you were able to perform and continue in the music industry, or did you think at that point that it was done?
Well, there were times that I thought that it was done. The diagnosis was originally in the early 90s that I had a partially paralyzed vocal cord, and I was told I would never sing again. And there's not a cure for it. There's not a surgery they can perform to fix that, or a medicine they can give you, or a magic pill or anything. And they said the only possible way I might be able to recover it, because most people don't, is to retrain it and work with vocal coaches and basically try to figure out something that's not an exact science of how to make that cord, how to make it work. So that's what I've been doing ever since. And it's been a real up and down battle, and there's been times where it's just been horrible, and I felt like it was over. But over the years, I've learned more and more about technique and how to make the most of what I have left, and it's gotten really strong. And in recent years, it's probably stronger than ever. So,
right, awesome. And so I heard it when I was listening to Hot and Bothered, which was released in February '92, and when I heard it on the Wayne's World soundtrack, I just said, wow, that is classic Tom Keifer. That is a sound that I recall. So then,
thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's been a pleasure listening to you all these years. When your dream was realized, when you're obviously starting out on the solo career with your current album, The Way Life Goes, did you feel that your voice was completely ready to record it? And when you did record it, what were your initial results after listening to it track by track?
It was, I was not ready to record it, and it was, my voice was in pretty bad turmoil at the time. But it was a leap of faith, really, making this record each step of the way, and I just did whatever I needed to do to get the lines down the way I heard them in my head, not knowing if I would ever be able to sing the songs live. But, in the studio, you're just painting a picture and this thing that you hear in your head, and you get it down. And, fortunately, when I got into rehearsals last year, my voice had gotten a lot stronger, and I was able to pull it all off live. So it was kind of cool. Things work out the way they're supposed to.
Right, exactly. And so I noticed that your wife is a songwriter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then, if she's a songwriter and she's been noted to Pam Tillis's credits for writing music, or assisting her in writing music, I should say, what dynamic collaboration was she able to contribute on your album, The Way Life Goes?
Well, she wrote a lot of the songs with me, co-wrote them, and co-produced the record with Chuck and I. So quite a bit, actually, quite a bit of involvement.
Awesome. So was she an inspiration to you overall?
Quite a bit, yes. As a songwriter, and she's amazing. So writing songs with her is great, and the production end of it, she really helped me get through a lot of that vocal stuff, because it was rough for me doing that, and she was the person on the other side of the talkback button, helping me get through a lot of those vocals. So. Right.
Awesome, very cool. So then let's go backwards a little bit. You were trying to go on tour with Cinderella collectively, and so has that ever panned out to a point where now you guys are able to create an album? And if so, have you guys made any determination, or has there been any further talk about a new album?
Well, we're past the legal problems that we had. It's more a question right now of, the right situation presenting itself. Us not making a record over the years has never been for a lack of desire on our part. It's been more, it needs to be the right situation, and a label that's serious about doing it right. And we've been burned a couple times, so we're cautious about that right now.
Okay. I've heard all the tracks on your new album. Mood Elevator obviously pops out to me. It's very dynamic, it's intense, and sometimes we're all on mood elevators too. So what is your favorite track, and which was the most fun to record?
Well, Mood Elevator was a lot of fun to record because the lyrics are, pretty crazy, and so going in to do the guitars on that, trying to create guitar parts that mirror the lyrics, or the feeling of the lyrics, was a lot of fun on that one. So that one was certainly a lot of fun to produce and come up with those guitar parts for. In terms of picking one favorite on the record, it's hard because there's a lot of different kinds of songs on the record, but of the harder driving songs, certainly Mood Elevator is one of my favorites. I also like Solid Ground and It's Not Enough. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the more acoustic or ballad side, I love the Flower Song and Thick and Thin and Ask Me Yesterday. So.
Right. And again, it's an impactful album that has a lot of different messages for every single track, and I think that's what makes it stand out to me as far as an album is concerned. In February of 2004, your first child, Jaden, was born. I also have a daughter named Jaden, so we have that in common. And taking your time out for fatherhood, what inspired you to continue your career after fatherhood?
Well, music's just something that I've always done, and it's a part of me, and it's something that I love to do. And it's hard for me to picture myself doing anything else.
Awesome, very cool. Let's go back even further. I love going back because it just shows all the different dynamics and the things that you have went through. So then Bon Jovi discovered you in a nightclub. What was your first reaction when you met him, and what did you call your first impression was of him after he had taken such a liking to you and your musical style?
Well, it was cool to meet him. At the time, we were playing in that club. He was in town recording his second record, 7,800 Degrees Fahrenheit. So when he walked into the dressing room after the show that night, we knew who he was because Runaway had been a hit. We'd seen him on MTV. So it was cool to have what we would refer to as a celebrity at our show, I guess, because we weren't signed yet, or hadn't really left Philadelphia yet at that point. So it was cool cool, and it was great what he did for us. He went up and told his A&R guy about us, and the A&R person, Derek Shulman, already had a demo tape and was riding the fence on it. And I kind of understand why, because our demos were pretty bad. We were green in the studio and didn't really have that art perfected just yet. Mm-hmm. And apparently John just said, to Derek, forget the demo tape. I just saw these guys live. You should go see them live. And that's what started the ball rolling and eventually led to a deal. There was a few steps in between. Derek signed us to a 6-month developmental deal after he saw us live. And that eventually led to a full deal. But, John's awesome. And, I'll be forever grateful for whatever words he spoke in that office that day that got Derek out to see us. So.
Right. Awesome. Very cool. It's always nice to go backwards to remember where you've been and to think about where you're at now, and what you're trying to create for yourself musically, and to be happy with any other material that you want to continue with. Was there any either new material or material that didn't make it on the final cut off The Way Life Goes that you're currently developing for your next follow-up solo album?
No, there were a lot of songs that we chose from. I don't forget exactly how many, so there are other songs laying around. Some of them aren't finished in terms of the writing. Mm-hmm. Some of them are finished. None of them are like masters or final produced tracks. So, and no work's being done on those right now. I mean, we feel like we're still in the thick of being out with this record. So I'm not really even thinking about that. But there is stuff left over.
Oh, awesome, very cool. Yeah, I would love to hear that when your next solo album comes out. Hopefully, those will make the final cut and get onto the new album. So then, after going back to Bon Jovi and after being discovered and making your way up through from being green to being professionals in the studio, what do you feel your most rewarding musical accomplishment? And when was it made, and how did it impact your career?
It's hard to put your finger on any one thing. It's to me, it's like it's just been a journey and an adventure, and hopefully with each record, you hope that you become a better songwriter and better at portraying that in the studio or capturing it in the studio. For me, it's all about the songs. So it's hard to pinpoint one thing, really, to be honest.
Okay, that's very fair. So then, to go back into your early days when you were listening to music prior to ever playing an instrument or singing a key, what were your influences, and how did they impact your desire to start your career?
Well, my very first inspiration was seeing the Beatles on TV. I was about 7 years old, and I loved that show, The Monkees, then too, that TV band.
That was awesome.
So, I was just a kid, but I wanted to after I saw the Beatles and that TV show, I wanted to play guitar. So my mom had a teacher come to the house and started teaching me. And, basically from that point on, those were basic, like strumming open chords and singing songs and all. But then I heard, started hearing all the amazing hard rock of the 70s, because that's, when I was growing up. And I heard bands like the Stones and Zeppelin and Rod Stewart and Aerosmith and Janis Joplin, and I could name bands forever, and that was my early influences as a rock player, and that also led me to the blues. I went back and dug into, after hearing Jimmy Page play, and I realized that his influences were the blues, and I dug way back, B.B. King and Son House and Robert Johnson and Johnny Winter and Elmore James and Albert King, and just got a real background in that too. So all came from 70s rock, though. That was the big inspiration.
Awesome. Very cool. When it comes to what your thoughts are in regards to your overall life in music, do you think that you could maybe tour or maybe create another album for the next 20 years as long as you can become creative and be able to record things in the studio?
Well, albums are kind of a release of your soul, and songs are, and I just take that one day at a time. I never would have guessed that I wouldn't have, made a studio record for I don't know how many years between Still Climbing and the solo record. I mean, you just don't know what life's going to throw at you.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. It's creativity, and it's your feelings, and it's your emotions, and you just know when it's right, and you do it. So I think I have a lot of music left in me. I don't know how that's going to come out or when it's going to come out, but I'm sure it will.
Right, exactly. And you've overcame a lot of things in your life, good, bad, and indifferent. Obviously, from losing your mom to the vocal cord issues that seem to flare up every once in a while, and you've been able to overcome a lot of obstacles in your way. For those musicians that are starting out, to our listeners, what do you honestly believe would be the biggest thing that you can take away from your career, and how could our listeners apply it to their careers if they're starting out in music?
Well, I think in terms of obstacles that I've overcome, from the voice to just, it's life is obstacles. Life keeps changing, keeps throwing you curveballs. Obviously, the voice thing was something that I've had to overcome and go through. Amongst other things, there's many challenges in speaking specifically of the music industry to constantly overcome, from the time we were signed or even trying to get signed or get a deal. So, the first thing I would say is maybe as rehashed and corny as it sounds, is don't ever quit. If you believe in something, you got to keep going, because there's been many times where, I felt like, wow, this will never happen, or, you feel like you're at your rope's end on something, and then the next day you wake up and something changes, and it, you don't want to be the person who gives up that day too early,
Right.
Where
You
you miss the opportunity because you gave up on your because you never know what's around the corner. You never know what opportunity is going to arise, or so if it's something that you love, you just stay with it.
Right. Absolutely. And with that being said, as music progresses, and you have your own style, and I can definitely appreciate your style. I'm very diverse myself when it comes to music, and especially when you get into the 80s, rock, and you have your 70s classic. Where do you see your next album lay in regards to genre? Is it going to be very similar to your current album, or do you see it maybe taking a slightly different turn?
Well, I think, my first love of music was the hard rock, blues inspired stuff that I grew up on. I think that I'll always be in that vein of music. I can't see myself doing a pop dance record or a jazz album or something, just completely off the wall. I mean, I could see myself maybe doing a blues record, but that's part of my background, that would be probably a pretty natural thing for me to do. So
right.
That's possible. But I think I play rock music. That's what I've always done, and that's what I love. So
right, exactly. Going back to concert tours and the things that you have learned throughout your time in music, a two-part question, if you will. Who was the most infamous tour group, and who is your favorite all-time touring group?
That we've toured with?
Yes.
We've been really lucky. Every band that we have toured with, whether we were support or they were supporting us, have been really great. Some of the standouts were obviously going with Bon Jovi on that Slippery When Wet tour was great, and they were amazing to us, and just really good to us. We've done, I think, 3 tours with Poison that were, I would say that's probably my favorite. We just all get along really well, and it's a great bill. It's a good combination, and the fans love it. And we've done 3 tours with them now. So that's the band we've done the most touring with. Probably we're the closest to, and it's a lot of fun always, those tours.
Awesome, very cool. So then your actual you're the infamous standout, the one band that you toured with that you would probably never tour again, without throwing anybody under the bus.
I'm not going to answer that. Because if I do answer it, I'm throwing them under the bus.
I just thought maybe I would ask that question if you would.
Nice try. I like the. We're not going to throw anyone under the bus, but as soon as you mention their name, of course, I've thrown them under the bus. So.
One of those trick questions I like to throw out there.
You almost got me.
Well,
if
Tom.
you asked me that before I'd had my coffee, I might have said so-and-so.
Well, the reason why I asked because I already had 2 cups, so I guess we're
I've already had probably 4, so you're not going to get that one past me.
Awesome. Tom, thank you so much. I wanted to thank you for your time. I wish you the best with your upcoming endeavors. Thank you. And have a great remainder of your tour promoting The Way Life Goes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's in stores now. It is one of those albums that will capture you. It's dynamic. It's fluent. I love it. You can find more about it at TomKeifer.com or find Tom on Facebook. So thank you again, Tom. Have a great day. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. You have a good day.
You take care. Thank you. You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.